Well, good morning, Beyond Borders Church. I'm Pastor Adam. I'm excited you guys are here today. We're starting a new series today called Red Letters. And as you guys already know what the red letters are, they're actually where Jesus was speaking in the Bible. My Bible doesn't actually have the red letters, so I've got to use my phone to find the red letters. But we're going to be talking about some of the words that Jesus said when he was here on earth. Before we get into that, I've got something up here on this table. Can you guys see this? You see this little bit of water? Okay, so there's a little bit of water in here. And you know, one of my favorite things in school, one of my favorite subjects was science. Does anybody like science? Okay, one of mine was science. And in science class, we learned about like laws of gravity and stuff, right? So if I take this cup of water and I turn it upside down, since part of our main point is the word upside down, and if I turn it upside down, what's going to happen? It's going to spill everywhere. And it's blue, and I don't really want to get blue stuff all over me. But I'm going to do exactly that for you today. I'm going to turn it upside down. But before I do, I'm going to actually put something on top of it. Okay? So I'm going to turn it upside down. And as you can tell, the water stays inside. Right? Pretty cool. It spilled a little bit. But it stayed inside. But, well, hold on. I had my hand in the way, didn't I? Let me try again. See? It keeps the water in there, right? Pretty cool. Wait a minute. I had my hand in the way still. Maybe I'm afraid to do this. Maybe I'll move my hand and see what happens this time, okay? We know there's like a pound of water in here, and this thing's not very heavy. But I'm going to actually move my hand this time. Let's see what happens. Look at that. Pretty cool, right? Even though there's a pound of water in here, I can turn this thing upside down, and the water stays in there. How does it work? I have no clue, because it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to our brains because it shouldn't work. According to the laws of gravity, it should have fallen, right? Because the water was way heavier than this piece of paper. Sometimes we don't completely understand how things work. And Jesus taught us something. He says, my kingdom is different. Can you guys say different? My kingdom is different. And I'm gonna need some help today because I want to show you guys how Jesus' kingdom is different by having some people help me out today. So I'm going to start with, I'm going to have Miss Aaliyah. Can you come on up here? Come on up here, Aaliyah. I'm going to throw this off to the side just so it's out of the way for us. So Miss Aaliyah, I have a project at my house. It's a really big project. And I need someone to help me pour concrete in my yard because I want to do a really big concrete patio. But the problem is I can't do it by myself. I need some help. So I am going to request that you come and help me to do this work. And let's pretend, we can all pretend, right? We're going to pretend that it is 7 a.m. in the morning, okay? And when you work for me, I'm going to pay you, let's say, a fair day's wage. Now, what would a fair day's wage be? Let's say you make like $10 an hour, you work 8 hours. I'll be willing to give you $80 for working all day helping me pour concrete. Sounds like a good deal, right? Are you okay with that? Okay, good. So she's going to be working in the background, time's going to be going by, and I'm going to need someone else because at 9 a.m., I'm like, man, there's no way this project's going to get done. So I need someone else who's going to be willing to come up and help me. How about you? Come on up here. And you can come stand right next to Miss Aaliyah right here. So it's already 9 a.m., but if you're okay to work for, here, why don't you stand right here? If you're okay to work for today, I'll be willing to pay you whatever makes sense, right? You good with that? Okay. Now this project is still going on all day long. It's 7 a.m., she came in at 9 a.m., it's lunchtime, and I'm like, the sun's going to go down, I'm not going to get it done, I need someone else to come and help me. So how about you in the pink? Can you come on up here? You can come on up here. You can stand right here. You're going to represent the worker who comes in at noon, okay? And I'm going to pay you also what's fair for when you came in. So come on and stand right here. It's noon. It's 3 o'clock now. And there's no way that they're working really hard, okay? It's hot outside, but I still need more people. I need somebody else. How about you over here? Yep, in the sweatshirt. Yep, the Adidas. Come on up here. 3 o'clock, I'm going to hire you to work. Come on up here. You're going to work for me. It is 3 p.m. Come stand right here. You guys are working. And now it's 5 o'clock at night. The sun is going to go down in 1 hour. And we're so close to getting the project done. We're so close. but I still need one more person to help me. How about you all the way in the back there? Yep. Come on up here. Yep, all the way. Oh, how about this guy right here? This guy right here. Sorry. Come on up here. Come on up here. And then we're going to have you stand all the way over here. Let's give them all a big hand. They're working so hard for us today. You can come and stand right here, okay? All right. So now 5 o'clock came. I've got all these people who started working for me, and they started working at different times throughout the day. In the morning, 9 a.m., lunchtime, 3 p.m., and 5 p.m. They've been working hard all day. And now the project is completed. It's 6 p.m. at night. They've worked so hard. You guys did such an amazing job. Now it's time for me to pay them, right? And I said I will pay them a fair day's wage. Well, I don't have $80 to give you guys, but what I do have is I have this piece of candy here, which I'm going to use this to represent a fair day's wage, okay? That counts, right? We'll use that for an example. So I'm going to pay you. You came in at 5 p.m. to help me today. So you worked about an hour. I'm going to go ahead and give you that. And then you came in, you only worked like 2 hours, I'm going to give you that. You worked about 4 hours, I'll give you that. You worked about 6 hours, you'll get that. And you worked the longest, but I'm still going to give you the same amount. So as you can tell, that doesn't make any sense, does it? You would think the person who comes in last is going to maybe get a third or even maybe a fifth of a day's wage. And then maybe the one on the end that worked all day long, they would get paid even more. But it's kind of different. It's kind of weird. And I'm going to jump into that a little bit further. So thank you guys for helping me. You guys can all have a seat. Thank you. Thank you. Good job, everybody. Good job. Good job working and pouring concrete for me today. So I was just using that example of how sometimes in life things don't make sense. Pouring the cup upside down and the water doesn't follow. It doesn't make sense all the time, right? Sometimes you might work really hard in life. Anybody have a job and they work as hard as they can, and you think, the harder I work, the more responsibilities I take, the more money I'm going to get. I've thought that before, but it doesn't always work that way. Sometimes they say, I just need you to do more and be happy about it. It doesn't always work that way. Sometimes you might be somebody who needs to study. Maybe you want to get an A, and you got to put in 10 hours of study to get an A, when maybe the person that sits next to you doesn't have to do anything. They just automatically get an A. See, sometimes it doesn't make sense. Sometimes it's not fair, and sometimes you might work hard and you don't even get recognized for it. But when that happens, how does that make us feel? It makes us feel sad, right? Like, it's not fair, like what Miss Aaliyah did earlier. It's like, I should have got more for what I did. It's not fair, and unfortunately, that's the way the world works sometimes. But Jesus says this. Jesus says, God's kingdom is different. Guys, say that with me. Say, God's kingdom is different. And it looks different. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at the red letters. If you guys have a Bible today, you can open up to Matthew chapter 20. And we're going to start in verse 1. And this is actually what we play out here up here on the stage. It's the parable of the vineyard workers. So I'm going to read through it here real quick with you guys. If you guys find it there, Matthew 20, and we're going to start at verse 1 all the way through verse 16. It says, "For the kingdom of heaven is like a landowner who went out one early morning to hire workers in his vineyard." So just like I did, I hired people to come and do some work for me. He agreed to pay them a normal day's wage, and he sent them out to work. So just like what he said, a normal day's wage, I think some Bibles say it's a denarius, which would be a day's wage. I kind of made it equivalent to like today's age. The denarius, the amount of silver is only like a little tiny bit, and it's probably only worth like a few dollars here right now. So not really good. It doesn't really translate very well. But he agreed to pay them one day's wage. At 9 o'clock in the morning, he was passing through the marketplace, and he saw some people standing around doing nothing. So he hired them, and he told them he would pay them whatever was right at the end of the day. And they agreed. They came and worked. So then they went and they worked in the vineyard. And then at noon again, and then again at 3 o'clock, he did the same exact thing. Went to the marketplace and found more people. Hey, come on, I need you to work. Come on over here. And then again, it says at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, he went to town again and he saw some more people standing around. And he asked them, why haven't you been working today? And they said, because no one has hired us. Of course. Why else would I be standing here waiting to work? Because nobody's hired me. So the landowner told him, then go and join my other workers in the vineyard. That evening he told the foreman to call the workers and to get ready to pay them, beginning with the last worker first. And that's what we did up here, right? When those that he hired at 5 o'clock were paid, each received a full day's wage. They only worked like an hour, but he still paid them a full day's wage. When those hired first came to get their pay, they assumed they would receive even more, but they didn't. They were too paid the full day's wage, and they received their pay, and they protested to the owner. The vineyard owner, we should get paid more. We worked all day, they're telling them, we worked all day in the heat. This is not fair, it's not right. Why did they only have to work an hour and they get paid the same exact amount? He says, those people worked 1 hour and yet paid just as much as you paid the ones who worked all day in the scorching heat. And he answered one of them. And now listen to this. As the vineyard owner, he says, friend, I haven't been unfair. Didn't you agree to work all day for the usual wage? And then you can go back over here to verse 2 where he says he agreed to pay normal daily wage. So the owner wasn't being unfair at all. He was paying him exactly what he told him he was going to pay him. Take your money and go. I wanted to pay the last worker the same as you. Is it against the law for me to do what I want with my money? Should you be jealous because I'm kind to others? So those who were last will now be first, and then those who are first will be last. So it's natural for us to have these feelings inside when things don't seem fair, when things don't seem right. But that's the thing, is that God's kingdom turns our understanding completely upside down and makes it hard for us sometimes to understand what's God really telling us here? What's happening here? So this parable is what this is. I'm going to break it down into 3 different parts for us. So let me hear you guys say, the landowner, the workers, and the wage. So this parable can be broken down into these 3 different things. The landowner is like God. The workers are like us. And the wage is a free gift that God offers everybody through his son Jesus, and that's salvation. As Christians, some people may grow up in a Christian home. They may live their whole life from the time they're little until they're very old, following Jesus. And at the very end of their life, they get a reward. They get paid, right? They were the first, but even though at the very end, they receive the reward of salvation, God's free gift through grace in Jesus. Now you have other people, like the thief on the cross. When Jesus was being crucified, he has the thief on the cross. He lived his whole life, didn't even think about God. Lived a life of sin, but even though he was on the cross, Jesus said to him that you'll be with me in paradise. He still received the same gift of salvation. It doesn't matter how long we know Jesus. It doesn't matter. The payment, the wage is still the same. And sometimes it doesn't make sense. And here's more of stuff, how God flips our understanding upside down. If you continue on in Matthew, you go down to verse 25. It says, but Jesus called together, 25. But Jesus called them together and said, you know the rulers of this world lord over people, and officials flaunt their authority over those under them. But among you it will be different. Whoever wants to be a leader among you must be your servant. That makes absolutely no sense at all. It doesn't make any sense. And whoever wants to be first among you must become your slave. It makes no sense to us. God's kingdom is like completely opposite of how we understand things. For even the Son of Man has not come to serve, but to serve others, and to give his life as a ransom for many. It doesn't make sense. And that's why we're saying this is our main point today. God's way turns things upside down. God's way turns things upside down. Can you guys say that with me? Say, God's way turns things upside down. Doesn't make sense sometimes. So here's a few ways that God's kingdom is different than our kingdom, or than the world that we live in today. Our world is about earning things. Our world is about getting things, right? We have to work hard to earn respect from people. We have to be a man of our word to earn respect from people. We have to work super hard at work and show effort so that people will value us and we can earn more money. Sometimes we have to earn acceptance from other people. Sometimes it takes time and effort to earn respect. They might say, I'll love you if you do this for me, right? Sometimes we have to earn respect from people. What about forgiveness? Sometimes we feel like we have to earn forgiveness from people. Sometimes we feel like we have to earn forgiveness from God even, right? And one of the biggest things we have to earn if we are trying to get forgiveness from somebody is trust. Sometimes they might say, I will not forgive you until I can trust you again. And we have to earn trust. Our world is about earning things. And even our salvation. There's religions out there that teach you have to earn salvation by doing good works. But that's not how it is. God's kingdom is opposite. It flips things upside down. God's kingdom is about giving. So God gives us what I would say is unconditional love. He gives us love when we don't deserve it. In Romans 5:8, it says this. It says that even though we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Which has to be the case because Jesus died 2,000 years ago. And he paid that price for us, even though none of us deserve it. We all mess up all the time. In Luke 6, it says, forgive and you'll be forgiven. It's all about giving. We have to give of ourselves. And then obviously salvation, it ties back to that parable that we had. He gave them all the same wage, salvation. They didn't have to earn it. They all got paid the same. Our world loves power. Our world loves power. Can you kids go like this? When I think power, I think like power, right? Our world loves power. And there's different types of power in this world. One of them is financial power. Whoever has the most money has what you can call influence. People want money. It's all about getting money, becoming the boss, having your own company where you can have anything you desire, right? And then you can have influence over others. You're the boss. You can tell people what to do. The world it loves power. What about knowledge? Can you kids do this? Point at your heads. Knowledge. Knowledge is power. Some people want to have all the knowledge they can have because if they have the proper knowledge, they can control people and they can tell people what to do. And then another one is political power. Now, there's political power, and people that are in politics today, they want to keep that power, and they will do anything to stay in power. The world loves power. And the Israelites, or the people of Israel back in Jesus' time, they were looking for a political figure of power. They were looking for what the Bible called the Messiah to come. And they believed the Messiah was going to be a political figure of power. He was going to come in authority and take over. And they completely missed out Jesus because God's kingdom turns things upside down. God's kingdom loves serving people. Jesus could have came to the earth and he could have demanded worship. He could have came to the earth. He was the Son of God. And he could have said, you all are going to worship me. But he didn't. What did he do instead? He came to the earth and he served people. He loved people. He even washed his disciples' feet. And they're like, no, Jesus, don't wash my feet. And he's like, I've come to serve. Jesus came to serve. And then ultimately he came and he died for us. That's God's way. It's completely different than what our minds can understand. And here's one more example is our world picks winners. Has anybody ever heard of being popular in school? Okay, I remember it probably starts in maybe even elementary school. You start to realize there's the popular people. And then in middle school and high school, you get the popular people, the people who are in sports, right? Everybody loves the people who are popular. They're the winners, right? People love people who are famous and athletes. But what happens if you're a famous athlete and you go to the Olympics and you get first place? You're going to win the gold medal. Who wants to win a gold medal? That'd be awesome, right? But the person who gets last place, they get nothing. Nobody even knows who they are. Our world loves winners. But God's kingdom picks everyone. In Matthew 9, it talks about how Jesus ate with sinners. You know, and back in the time, you have these people called the Pharisees, and they were very righteous people. And they wouldn't have anything to do with these sinners. And again, Jesus turned things upside down, so guess what Jesus does? He comes and eats with the sinners, and the Pharisees say this to him. They say, you're eating with scum. At least that's what my translation says, with scum. When I think of scum, I think of like stuff underneath my toenails, or like tile soap scum, like nasty stuff, right? But that's what he said to them. He says, you are eating with scum. But Jesus always had something to come back with. He always flipped it upside down. And he says this, he says, healthy people do not need a doctor. Sick people do. And then he says, I didn't come for the righteous. I came for the ones who know they're sinners. It's different. Jesus loved everyone. God's kingdom is different. And I think this was a great message to start the series with, because throughout the series we're going to see how Jesus spoke, and everything that Jesus said, it turns our understanding upside down. He said, the poor will be rich. Does that make any sense? Absolutely not. He says, the first will be last. Doesn't make sense. But all these words that we're talking about in the series over the next few weeks, it says right there that the words of Jesus that changed the world, transformed everything in the world. And the thing about these red letters is they can transform the world, which they have. But when you allow these red letters to speak to you, they're going to start to transform you in here. And then when they start to transform you in here, they're going to start to spread and transform maybe people around you, your family. And then it'll go even further from your family to your community. Jesus loves everybody, and he wants to reach this world. But God uses people to do that. So I'm going to take a second and pray for us today. If you guys would, just kind of close your eyes. You can bow your heads. God's kingdom is different. And He uses us, and He wants to transform you, your family, your community. And He's looking for people who are not ashamed of Him, people who are willing to stand up and say, Jesus, I love you. I don't want to see another person fall away from you, God. I want to share who you are with everyone. Because ultimately, we belong to God, and He has a place for us in heaven, but we have to share the name of Jesus to others.